let me say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Those of you viewing GBN TV, let me say good morning to you, whether you're viewing Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20. Good morning. Those of you also via social media platforms, Facebook page, YouTube channels, good morning and welcome. It's to the point. It's Wednesday, the 2nd day of October 2024, and it's to the point. I'm your host, GT. With me this morning, we have the jazz director, that's Mr. Phillp. Always keep to forget your first name, but Mr. Phillp always settles with me. I think we can settle for Mr. Phillp.
Jason.
Jason?
Yes.
All right. I like folks who like to work with a first name basis. Yeah, all right. So Jason, but I'll still say Mr. Phillp, and in between it would come a natural reaction. How are you doing this morning, sir? It's been
wonderful.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since we last interacted.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you. Good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Good morning to our diaspora. Good morning to everyone all over the world tuning into GBN this morning.
All right. Nice to have you once again. Let me kick it. How's things at GIS?
Oh, well, GIS is, I would say, cracking along. Mm-hmm. We are actually coping quite well. Our teams are currently hard at work. Yeah. We have been extremely busy following the hurricane.
Yes.
And we are, of course, working on the transformation of GIS. There are quite a lot of areas which GIS has been asked to work and improve or work in. Yeah. And those require quite a lot of extensive spending. There's a lot of planning, a lot of development work in terms of to get GIS where it needs to be. What I can say at this point is that we have already begun to ensure that the public has more access to information. We are being more dynamic in the way how we put information forward, especially through our social platforms. We do recognize that our wider public, albeit be Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique, or diaspora, very, very interactive in terms of what we are putting out. And of course, we're doing our best to keep current, keep the public current with what is going on with government. It is quite a mammoth task, of course, but we are doing our best with the resources we currently have.
Yes.
But there is, of course, that silver lining that is coming very soon. We have begun the preparatory work for re-establishing programming at the GIS. So there are going to be unique programs which are going to be coming back on slate very soon from our various stakeholders, being the ministries or statutory bodies and so, which will speak more in detail as to topics and so that are specific to their line of work. We are currently looking from the 15th of October, that week of the 15th of October, all the way back to the end of the year, the 31st of December. We are having what we call a pilot period, a pilot season, where we're focusing on 5 dynamic areas. We're looking at finance, we're looking at national security, education, agriculture, and last but not least, we're also looking in at, I think, did I say education?
Yeah, you did mention education.
Education, national security, finance, agriculture, and I think it's...
Isn't that the 5 you said?
Yes, it's 5.
Yeah, well, you
yes,
well,
look at that. Yes.
You topped the 5.
Yes, and finance. I'm certain that I said finance. Yes, so certainly the idea here is that we would be hearing quite a lot as we move into the budget season. Well, I can say budget season is already here.
Yes, it is.
And there's quite a lot happening. I am proud to say that the government of Grenada has been very busy. There is quite a lot happening. We at GIS, we are struggling to keep up. Quite literally so, because it is not just items and matters happening only to the south of the island or to St. George's, but it is across the nation. As we're aware of what is going on in Carriacou, there is quite extensive work happening in Carriacou, and so we are at this point where we are trying to keep up with documenting as well as putting out on a daily basis to the general public so that everyone can be edified and understand what is happening internally at the government service.
It's crucial that you mention all of these new projects and incentives that will be thrown up by GS, because as a nation we like to be kept abreast with information that is going on, especially within the government domain. And sometimes we lack, and we just hearing things for the first time. And GIS as the entity is what should be disseminating such information.
Yes.
And I'm happy that, of course, you being at the helm, they're now making sure that in soonest of times we'll be hearing all of this information on a daily basis, I'm assuming?
Yes.
On a daily basis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What we want to encourage the public is that Government of Grenada, we cannot publish everything in a formal format to keep up with the volume of work that is happening.
Yeah.
And we keep in mind that social media is such that it's a social platform where we can bring across matters in a lighter way, but we don't have to dig into too much details, but we can highlight the main areas in what is happening. And so we want to encourage the public that if you want to see what is happening in real time with all of the government service, there isn't a department in government at this point that does not have a Facebook presence, that does not have some form of online presence. And we would encourage you that you can follow these various official pages through the Government of Grenada. Also that of GIS. We do have an extensive amount of information that is published there on a daily basis.
I do follow it also.
Yes. It is quite extensive. Not everything can be brought across in the news, even both from GIS and, of course, GBN and all the other news providers. But we do our best in terms of ensuring that where our social commentary is concerned and our social content, to keep people abreast, we have been doing our best to keep it as current as we possibly can.
And I'm happy that you're using social media, because it's where people go for information these days.
Yes.
There may be 100 people, and then you get 75 that will use the social media platforms more than listen to an actual radio or view a television. And of course, I'm certainly happy to hear that. Let's talk about what's happening. We know that Grenada we're still in the process of celebrating for some reason or the other the Celebrations Committee 50th anniversary of Grenada's independence. Tell us about some of the, of course, from the Celebrations Committee point of view, what's happening with them lately?
Yes, so in October, we have the October 19th celebration, which is upcoming, and that's just around the corner. We're happy to say that tomorrow at midday, there will be a press conference which would officially launch. The committee would use that as an opportunity to officially launch that particular activity, and a lot more detail will be given there. As we look towards the 50th anniversary, Grenada 50th anniversary, of course, it is still ongoing. Very recently, our Prime Minister, Honorable Dickon Mitchell, in his constituency, St. David's, launched their 50th anniversary celebration, and it's an ongoing series of events that are happening there. And we would want to invite everyone to log on to the Prime Minister's Facebook page, where you can be kept abreast as to all the dynamic things that are happening on the ground in St. David, similarly to all of the various representatives across the island. You can go onto their Facebook and you will see exactly what is happening there in terms of the constituency, what plans they have, what they're doing, the work that they're pressing on with. Of course, all of this is aiding GIS in the wider context of having the information out there. The government is not operating in a vacuum. It is not being quiet. I think that almost everything that is happening at this point is out there in one format or another. And so we encourage folks, just be light with it and go in there and just read, interact with the content. If you have questions, comment, concerns, please place those there, and you will definitely be getting responses.
There's always the option where there are individuals who will still say they're not getting information. There are individuals who are hesitant for some reason to go on social media for some reason. Has GIS ever thought of any other ways of getting information out in the individuals? Pertaining to the Celebrations Committee and all the other events that are, of course, government oriented. Has any other source ever sort of that's all those mediums in some way? Let's say there are individuals. Let's say the elderly individuals out there who may not be able to sit for a period of time and look at TV, but maybe would like to listen to the radio. Has it ever come across your mind? You being now at the helm, those kind of thoughts ever flow for you in terms of information on that level?
Oh yes, certainly. And as we speak towards the transformation of GIS, I must say that there are a number of mediums that are being considered in terms of to get started.
Okay.
Government is finalizing in the decision making as to a number of additional media that we can add to the GIS's platform, so that we can, of course, reach those individuals individuals directly from government. That information, of course, once approved, and so we will speak a bit more of it in the near future. But in the meantime, what we have started doing is that GIS has more or less opened the floodgates in terms of information share.
Yeah.
We have been sharing everything that we have received, and we are continuing to produce with the wider media, and we are ensuring on a daily basis that we disseminate as much information as we possibly can. So in the news segments that you're now seeing in terms of all of the media houses, you're hearing a lot more from government, and you're hearing a lot more of government and the broad-ranging areas in government. You're not only hearing about agriculture or education. You're hearing a lot more about finance. You're hearing a lot more about a lot of the other areas that used to be a bit quiet. Of course, the RGPF is doing a fantastic job, and they continue to serve to ensure that our nation remains a very peaceful and a very well-disciplined state, so that we could continue to see benefits, not just locally in terms of our peace and stability, but also internationally when it comes to tourism and other key aspects. But of course, GIS has evaluated, but we're using different strategies at this point to ensure that the public remains edified. All
right. We drew for a first break. Let's take it. We come back. We got loads more to talk about when we come back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Don't touch it now.
GBN is your home for this year's Republic Bank CPL. Please note there will be adjustments to our programming lineup on Tuesday, October 1st, Wednesday, October 2nd, and Friday, October 4th. Transitions will air at 5:05 p.m., followed by GBN Television News at 6 p.m. And don't miss the news repeat right after the CPL match. Transitions will also be rebroadcast after the news repeat, so you won't miss a thing. GBN, bringing you sports coverage anywhere and everywhere. Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started. This holiday season, get ready for a magical celebration packed with culinary delights, crafts, and music that will bring joy to your heart. But that's not all. Lots of giveaways are waiting for you. Stay tuned and make this Christmas one to remember, only with GBN.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. Once again, let me say welcome back, Mr. Jason Phillp with us this morning, the director of GIS. We spoke a lot in our first segment. We spoke about, of course, all the new happenings that will take place at GIS. We spoke about, of course, some of the activities, of course, that we hit tomorrow as reference to the Celebrations Committee. We leave the details for when that actually happens. Yes. And let's talk about Parliament. We'll be hearing soon about the reopening of Parliament and so forth. Let's talk a wee bit about that. Share information that relates to that.
Certainly. On Friday, the 4th of October, Parliament would resume with the throne speech. This will be brought live by GIS, and of course it will be broadcasted to all of the various local media stations. So we're encouraging the public to please look forward to the reopening of Parliament, and of course the address by the Prime Minister, the address from the throne speech from Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade, will outline government's vision for the next year. It will also give guidance as to what one can expect from the budget upcoming, and it will give a clear direction in terms of the government's path to what it is doing for development and sustainability for Grenada for the year 2025.
Okay.
I do believe that there will be quite a lot of exciting and quite a lot of dynamic things that are going to be announced there, and I am eagerly awaiting the speech so that I too can be edified as to the thinking of our leaders.
All right, happy to hear that. So moving from, the Parliament, let's talk about the budget process that is taking place, right? Lots of consultation are taking place. Tell us a wee bit about that, what is taking place.
Yes, certainly. Of course, the government of Grenada is now in high preparation for the 2025 budget. We must recognize, of course, the Ministry of Finance is the lead ministry for this particular process. Let's keep in mind that the budgetary process usually begins on an annual basis within the month of June, early to mid-June. June is when it normally takes place. Due to the passage of Hurricane Beryl, that entire process got somewhat upset.
Thrown off of the course.
Exactly. Between June, early July, we'd see budgetary process begin. And due to this fact of the hurricane, it has thrown things off substantially so. However, being very dynamic, the ministry, along with the rest of government, has really done quite a lot of extensive work, and that process has now more or less been ramped up. What we are seeing now are several consultations which are ongoing. In particular, tomorrow, there's going to be the agricultural sector consultation, which will be happening in St. Andrew. It will be at Mellows, at Birch Grove. And of course, that consultation will be for all persons within the agricultural sector to please come down there and share, to give guidance to the team as to areas that can help within the budgetary cycle, so that things that they may not even be considering can be brought to light, and then consideration can be given for the 2025 budget. The government is using a people-centered approach when it comes to the whole process of developing the budget, and it is using the focus of ensuring that the recommendations come in from the widest possible scope within our nation, and give the people an opportunity to really guide as to what are the important areas that they so deem needs to be touched within the budget. Right. And so I do know that the ministry will be continue to put out circulars and information. You can check on the ministry's Facebook page. They have a list of all of the various consultations that will be happening nationwide.
I'm assuming that they are themed out in a particular way.
Yes.
Agriculture will be coming up, and of course, I guess whatever other sectors they decide.
Yes, that is correct.
Get everybody involved, so that of course have a holistic view and ideas from everyone, which would make the budget presentation on knowing what to put within the budget an easier approach.
Yes, that is correct. And we want to encourage the general public to please come out and participate. Let us not sit idly or sit quiet, and then when we do not give our contribution, when things are not done to your liking, or things that you expect to be in there may not be in there, that you turn to be a bit grumpy about it. We genuinely would like to have the entire public involved in these processes, and even if you're not able to be there physically, we suggest that you can maybe write your recommendations, and you can email it to the ministry, you can send it to GIS, and we are more than happy to pass it on to the relevant stakeholders, so that your recommendations can of course be taken into consideration when it comes to the budgetary process.
Just to chime in, the budget presentation always comes around where you find section of society always have minimal interest for some reason. Maybe the younger folks. There are maybe sectors who have that interest because it benefits them for some way and knowing what's within the budget. Has you been there? Has it the idea of the the presenters, the Prime Minister and so forth, Minister of Finance, ever thought of creating an opportunity where the idea is being attracted, especially to the younger people over here. Sometimes we have minimal interest. You talk to younger folks, they talk about the budget. You understand? What does the budget need? Even though they know what it means, but the interest of wanting to sit and listen or drive, or they're driving along and listening to the budget, sometimes it's of minimal interest. So what's your take on that?
Well, of course, in terms of getting the youth, and we have quite a large youthful population, getting the youth involved in the budgetary process, well, in fact, in governmental processes, is one of the centered focus of government. In recent times, there has been advertisements coming out there regarding the youth parliament.
Yes.
And the Ministry of Youth and Sport has been putting quite a lot of emphasis in terms of not just getting young people involved, but educating young people on the workings of government and how their participation, how crucial it is. Of course, the government has had the focus in terms of succession planning. So we are looking to groom the youth of Grenada so that they can take up that mantle as they evolve, quite naturally so. So this particular administration has been focused, and we have seen through the launch of the Empower program, through the launch of the Youth Parliament, and a number of other initiatives that are focused on getting youth involved on a consistent basis so that they can also assist in impacting positively what the next steps for the government will be. So these things are currently being engaged. Even the Imani program, we're seeing that the Imani program has been revitalized, and we're seeing that they are actually putting things together so that we can actually put our people out there being trained in all the various fields that are necessary, including the non-traditional areas that are becoming such the hotspot, I would say, and the center of focus when it comes to developing states.
All right, interesting to know that. I'm happy to hear that. And I'm sure the younger folks who are listening to this program, of course, the statement you just made, I'm sure would gravitate to their interest a whole lot. Project 500, sir. Tell me about that.
Well, Project 500 is a very unique program being hosted by the government of Grenada as a means of ensuring that we are able to provide quality housing for our population. We do know that over the years, many different types of different type of housing projects have been done in Grenada, and in the scope of things, not all of the way how things were done and the types of homes and so were really suitable towards the need of what our Grenadians require. And so this particular project is now centered among a Grenadian style home. However, it is done in an economic way, but ensuring that the buildings are done in a sustainable manner. And so Project 500 is now providing I would say affordable housing, very strong, quickly built affordable housing, which can be accessible to all. And that is the very important thing. Grenadians, we like to have a little backyard, we like a front yard, a little place to park the car and that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
So Project 500 now is structured around you, but it is doing so in an affordable way. And so the government has put priority on this, and it is a way of all Grenadians being able to own an affordable home, so that you can say, when I'm coming home and I'm happy
to my home.
To my home, yes.
Interesting to know that. I like the way you mentioned it's open to all. Folks may think Project 500 came out, and we know, of course, in the post of Hurricane Beryl, we think it may be catered for individuals who have lost their homes due to Hurricane Beryl. But it's open to all.
Yes, it is.
You are individual, you may not have the best home that you should have. Of course, we know we live in a hurricane zone. And you may be prone to a disaster occurring just like that. Now you could come speak to the necessary authorities and have something much better than you have put in place. Is it centered around that?
Yes, very much so. And you can go on to, again, Facebook. There is online information regarding Project 500. Project 500 has its own localized presence online. And so you can get a lot more detail if you were to go onto Facebook and just type in the search Project 500 Grenada. And of course, you will see the Facebook page come up. And there's quite a lot of information there. Not just only written information, but there's also video presentation there for persons who may prefer to look at that.
I want you to make a distinguish both for me. There's folks who may be hearing about Project 500 and Build Back Better. It's two different entities altogether.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Explain that a wee bit, maybe for the listeners over there
Yes.
who may be thinking Project 500 and Build Back Better is one. Is one.
So Project Build Back Better, its ethos came following Hurricane Beryl and the impact that Hurricane Beryl had on our housing stock. A lot of our families who live in wooden structures, especially, and have lost almost everything. It was the idea of the minister of MIT that when reconstructing these homes, what process should we go through? And the whole idea of building back a better home, a more resilient home, was what the focus was during this period. Now, the government and other agencies who are assisting in terms of with the housing repairs and so, don't want to just put money out and then the next hurricane season, God forbid that we receive another passage of some form of weather system, that these same homes which you've just constructed go back to waste and they're spread all over the island again. So the construct here was to construct a structure that can be a lot more resistant and that can be a lot, as the phrase says, you're building back better. So these homes are generally constructed with a concrete frame, a reinforced concrete frame. And then there's a wooden component with it, which is anchored to that concrete structure. Whereas our traditional wooden homes are all wooden. So from the pillars all the way through, everything is wood. In this particular way, the homes are built to very high standards, engineering standards, but it also allows for the aesthetic for folks who may understand that, of course, building a home in Grenada, the wood part of it does have its benefit. Of course, we're in a very tropical climate and and even though, of course, many of us would love to have the full concrete structure, but those of us who live within the wooden frames, we do recognize the benefit of the heating and cooling and how all of that happens. Nonetheless, the affordability in terms of building back these homes in a better, well-constructed way, utilizing the resources that are locally available, allows for the homeowners to get homes quickly, but they get a higher quality home. Now, keep in mind that even though these homes come with wooden walls, it allows for the homeowner over time, you can take out the walls without compromising the structure of the building, and you can reinstall concrete walls. So it allows for the homeowner over the period of time to be able to even continuously upgrade the home to their liking as where their budgets can reach. And it is something that we know in Grenada, that when we are doing homes and we're building our homes, we do it as the money comes. You buy
it's a process of time.
Right. So this particular new project, what it allows for not just the immediate rebuilding of these homes, but it allows for these homes to be rebuilt affordably, but it allows for the homeowners now to expand or to make changes without having to bring the entire building to the ground and then start all over again.
All right. There's always that negative conversation you hear from time to time of retaining. I've heard individuals say, well, it's only been 2 or 3 months, and they come up with an idea in terms of this particular building. Has there been enough, consultation with, of course, with numerous engineers in terms of the design and so forth? I've been hearing those conversations taking place. Was it even tested? Always maybe they should have been tested and so forth to know the strength and the durability of the buildings that we see being offered. What's your take on that?
Well, in the first case, I do trust that the government of Grenada will not be making impulsive decisions when it comes to people's lives. And I do believe that the best interest in terms of the homeowners are taken into consideration. I would simply put it this. The stakeholders who were involved in the decision-making were not just non-technocrats. We're talking about the Ministry of Infrastructure, all the engineers and so who are surrounding building and so, the Physical Planning Authority, the Housing Authority, all of these entities, the Bureau of Standards, all of these entities were part and parcel of the contribution towards making these projects possible. So at this current juncture, these properties and these buildings that are being done to the highest standards on the basis of what is required of them. And so I do not believe that there are any particular areas of major concern that that one should have when it comes to the actual structure and what is being done. I believe that at this juncture, the focus is you have to get the best possible solution in the shortest possible time, because people are actually affected. And of course, as has been said, we can't be waiting until next year and the following year before you actually see action. So I do believe that all of these things were taken into consideration, and the best decision has been made with the best solution. And this solution is a solution that I can see that will last more than 20 years in terms of its viability in the first instance. And it does allow for the occupants of that structure to make changes in short order without having to bring the entire structure down to the ground and start all over again. Also, we have to look at the reality here that in the event that a disaster does hit us again and these homes are affected, the intent here is not to have to reconstruct the entire building, but you may have to renovate or you may have to make certain fixes. And that, I think, is an improvement in terms of what you're looking for moving forward. So these are the factors that that have been looked at when the decision was made as to how to move forward in rebuilding these homes.
All right, great. We drew for a break again, Mr. Phillp. When we come back, when we come back, I want to spend some time focusing on the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique when we come back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point. Take care on Classic Radio GBN TV. We'll be right back after the break.
The event you won't want to miss. GIDC Business Deals Day is happening on Saturday, October 12th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Frequenty Industrial Park playing field. Explore the latest products and service offerings from businesses within the industrial parks. Enjoy discounts on GIDC business support services and get fantastic deals on household items, building materials, accessories, condiments, and more, with exciting prizes up for grabs throughout the day. But that's not all. Dive into a mini health fair and career expo for valuable health, education, and employment opportunities, all while enjoying the sounds of Trio the Band and DJ Graphic Sounds. It will be a fun-filled day filled with eats, drinks, games, deals, and more. Mark your calendars and join the GIDC at Frequenty Industrial Park playing field on Saturday, October 12th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. See you there.
Welcome back once again to our listeners and viewers. Welcome back. Mr. Phillp with us this morning here on the program. Of course, we talking in general this morning. All, of course, activities that are taking place. We spoke a whole lot about, we touched so much already that I'm losing track. That was what we talked. Of course, we did talk about Parliament, of course, reopening. We talk about the activities taking place at GS. I do have a question referring to GS again. I want to come back on that shortly. Let's talk about the recovery effort in the Sister Isles of Carriacou, Petit Martinique. Sometimes we still have to talk about the northern part of the island because they also, of course, were affected also. Now, the recovery process in Carriacou. school reopening, of course, was it on Monday? Tell us about some of tell us about that, how things are going, especially when it comes to recovery efforts in Carriacou. Maybe things that we have missed that are taking place there in Carriacou.
Okay. So just to be clear, that I think that the government of Grenada has been doing quite an extensive job in terms of all of the affected areas within the nation. As you rightfully said, it's not only the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, but of course the northern part of the island, Grenada, has been impacted, and of course quite a lot of work is ongoing there. Yeah. I must start off by saying, generally, let's speak to the utilities. Yeah. Of course, utilities are the backbone of what persons consume and what helps us in terms of our modern way of life. Both NAWASA, Glen, and our telecoms provider, they have been continuously operating and working to get everything back to normal in the first instance. What we can say is that when it comes to electricity, I would say that we're past the 95% mark when it comes to electrification of the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Grenada, we are, I think we are at I cannot remember seeing the last figures, but what last I saw, we were at about 98% electrification for Grenada. When it comes to telecoms, in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, there are still a few areas where there may not be service at this point because, of course, the infrastructure is still being repaired. And so forth, yes, and these are very significant things that require quite a lot of heavy equipment and so to get them back on track. But for the greater part in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, one is able to move around the island and still get cellular service, get access to telecoms so that you can still interface with your family, loved ones, and the rest of the world, of course. When it comes to water, the National Water and Sewage Authority has been working tirelessly to ensure that service is resumed in the areas where pipe-borne water has not been brought back on schedule as yet. The trucks are there doing the water service. Of course, there have been trucks which have been on loan, as they have expressed, from their sister companies in Barbados, as well as a private company in Grenada, which I think it's the Renault Group, who have had their trucks assisting NAWASA in distributing water in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. So all in all, at this juncture, utilities-wise, our process and procedures when it comes to getting back to some sort of normalcy, it's well on the way. And I want to take the opportunity to thank all of the hard servicemen and women who have continued to work night and day to make these things possible, make the reality happen for people who are so affected at this time. We want to continue to encourage the population in these affected areas to please hold strong, understand that the government of Grenada is fully understanding your point of view and the situations that you're in, and we're doing everything on our power to ensure that things are brought back to a state of normalcy in the shortest period of time.
Yeah. Tell me, of course, I did mention in terms of the reopening of schools in Carriacou. How was that process? Of course, there were some comments about it in relation to folks were thinking maybe it's not ready yet. But was it a success in terms of the reopening of?
Yes, of course, it was a great success. And to mark and to commensurate that, the Cabinet of Ministers on Monday visited Carriacou to show support. The Minister of Education, he was there present, and as outlined in their presentations, it was not a matter of the ministry just making a decision to restart school, but it was one that was done with consultation with both the staff, the parents, the actual students themselves, and it was a collaborative effort before the decision was made. And once the decision was made, we can see that everyone seems to be very satisfied. Of course, with the process in terms of the rebuilding and renovating of the schools which have been negatively affected, these processes are ongoing. And of course, where alternatives had to be made to be a short-term solution, these things were put in place. And so to date, we do believe that the best decision has been made. It was one that was done with consultation with the stakeholders. And so everyone is now, as we say, moving along. we have to keep in mind as well that even though we have just had the major effect of the hurricane, keeping children especially sitting at home idly is not the best thing to do. We need to get them back into the classroom. We need to get them back working on the positive areas of learning so that they do not have the psychosocial negative effects. And so in these areas, we needed to ensure that, we get everybody back up and going. And that is also going to help with the parents. When you have children sitting in a home all day, you as a parent having either to go to work or you have to deal with them, it is quite a challenge. And so it will help with the parents being able to adjust and to continue on the process of recovery and the rebuilding that is now ongoing there, while knowing that their children are not stuck at home doing nothing, that they have their learning and they have their schoolwork and everything under control for the next school year.
All right. Actually, on schools, there's a question that comes to mind. There's been conversation recently in terms of the some issues. I don't know if you could comment on that. The situation with the school feeding program, where various schools are reporting of problems in various schools. Any comment you want to make on that?
I would prefer for the Ministry of Education to make comments regarding that. As one can appreciate, I am not intimate into the ministry that I am able to give details regarding those particular areas of concern. And I would refer to the Ministry of Education for that. But I'm certain that whatever concerns that they may have regarding the school feeding program and so is being looked at and will be addressed by the minister and his team. And I'm certain that whatever concerns that are significantly true, because not everything that is a concern may necessarily be true. But whatever is found to be true, that it will be addressed in short order, and of course finding the best solutions under the circumstances that currently exist.
All right, great. It's moving up to just around 15 minutes before 10 o'clock this morning. At this stage, we're going to, of course, accept some calls from our listeners and viewers this morning. If you do have a question or two, you may like to ask Mr. Phillp, feel free to do it in this segment. Let's take our first caller. Caller, good morning, and you're live.
Good morning, sir. I just want to make this statement. I hate to hear the word help because, to me, the concept of help varies from people to people. It's been said on your program now, a few minutes gone by, that trucks are helping to with water and so on in Carriacou, even in Grenada. I would like the minister to explain if they are not taking part payment or full payment, or they helping as the word suggests. In other words, without any reward except by giving them gas or whatever it is. So explain that for me when you say help. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Care to respond to the caller's statement?
Yes. So primarily when we use the term help, it's to try to bring across the concept that it is a collaboration that is ongoing, and I'm trying not to use too much technocratic language. So forgive me if the connotation may come across incorrectly, but what I want to clearly state that these organizations or entities have collaborated with the government of Grenada through the National Water and Sewage Authority to come together so that we can ensure that water become available to all. As to the details regarding how the assistance is given, I cannot speak to details to that. However, their support has been ongoing, and we want to recognize the positive impact that their equipment and their manpower that they have sold, whether through donation or through some form of part funding, if you want to call it that way, whatever that arrangement was, the reality here is that we do appreciate the service which has been given, and of course it has been in an ongoing basis. What I can speak to is that initially coming right after the hurricane, both the Barbados Water Authority and the private sector company Reno, they did contribute the service of their equipment at no cost, and they were happy to do so. If there has been any change to that, the National Water and Sewage Authority may be able to speak to that when they do their next press brief or so.
Okay, great. Yes. We do have another caller. Caller, good morning, you're live.
Indeed, good morning, Mr. Telesford, and good morning to Mr. Phillp. I'll be brief. Mr. Phillp, I don't know if you read over the past weekend, the New Today, published by George Worm. And there was an interesting article in the commentary section referring to Carriacou and the Petit Martinique and, the efforts to come back. Have you? Did you?
No, I'm sorry. Good morning. I did not have an opportunity to read that segment.
I'd like to, to suggest that you read it. Because many of the things that I hear coming from the government and what the author, I don't know if it's Zara or some Zara Chase, has put in there, with even quotations from individuals, it should be interesting to compare these views. But Mr. Phillp, my call this morning, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. Information abounds. And it started in 2002 to circulate when a commission set up by the then administration forced the government. But of course, the administration people who lead and run the government in different phases called for a constitution review in Grenada. This document was published, it is there. However, nobody seemed to be taking any interest in it. Certain recommendations were made. It went as far as to tell us that in effect, second paragraph, quoting, it is instructive to note that neither the document terminating Grenada's association with the United Kingdom nor the current constitution are resolutions in the Parliament of Grenada, and on its face continue to be imperial orders in council of the Queen's most excellent majesty. Of course, it was the Queen then, today's Charles Rex III, the King. I said this to inform that over the past 9 years since after the referendum, 2015, I've been asking the ministry, the Government Information Services, for an opportunity to present that document on a state-owned entity to the people, to remind them and to explain them at least my view as a common citizen of this country, of which I'm entitled to. And they've refused for the years. My question to you is, do you think you're in a position to give me or afford me the opportunity, me as a common citizen, but sufficiently articulate to express myself and to show and to prove my views on the constitutionality of this here country? No, you do not have to answer no. You don't have to make any commitment. But what I can tell you is that if I hear nothing over a matter, let's say 3 months by the end of the year, I shall call upon you again. Have a nice day, Mr. Phillp. Thank you, Mr. Telesford, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Any response to the caller?
I thank you very much, caller. Thank you. What I can say is that I am open to having a discussion with you, of course, for us to speak to your concerns, speak to your requests, and of course, I cannot give you an answer at this juncture, but I am open to having that discussion with you, and of course, seeking how we can find a solution in the shortest order.
Say good morning to another caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're welcome, and you're live.
Yes, good morning. It puzzles me because I'm trying to ask a question to the director of the GIS. I would like to know what is his job description as the director of the GIS, and also does the social media page comes under the umbrella of the GIS? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Respond to the caller.
Yes, caller. Just to clarify that the GIS is responsible for government's information. I am the Director of Information for the Government of Grenada. As to go into a full breakdown of my what is required of me, let me just clarify that what you have asked regarding the social media and the methods upon which information is disseminated, the government of Grenada, just as any other entity, utilizes all possible legal frames or modes of disseminating information to the general public, so that it is convenient for the public to have the information in a timely manner. Keeping in mind that social media, it's one of the most used technology at this point that is accessible to the general public, and of course having official pages where the information that is disseminated is vetted and it is proofed to ensure that it is genuine, coming from the government, which is the most important part of it. But of course, yes, GIS does have access and does have the authority to utilize all these various modes of dissemination for the general public.
All right. Of course, I hope the caller did. And sticking on GIS, someone has just asked a question, and they're asking, of course, if what about the new strategy? You did mention something when we did start, but soon to be implemented. And they're asking, is any new strategy being rolled out over the next year year, and what is the plans, and why is it being done now? Someone is asking that question.
Well, first of all, I became the Director of Information from the 1st of July of this year. If we do remember, the 1st of July is when the hurricane hit Grenada, and so the process began. However, the government of Grenada has started the process of revamping the government information service, which started approximately a year before. There were some consultations which were done regarding how to revamp GIS, to actually understand what was GIS, what is the constraints or what is the confines, and then also looking towards what is the future for GIS on the basis and the context of what the government is requiring. This consultation was done, and it took about 6 months because, of course, you had to really dig deep into the government service, because it was not just come in and look at GIS in a vacuum, but you had to see how GIS interface with the rest of government and the public at large. And this was done, and then a report was written with recommendations and submitted to the Cabinet for consideration. Cabinet then reviewed this, and after having deliberation on the matter, adopted the report and adopted the recommendations which were made. Following that, as the first stage of having transformation done for GIS was to put management in place so that management could implement the changes that the government of Grenada so requires as a mandate for the way forward. So what you're seeing now is that now that our management has been put in place, we are now, as management, from the mandate that has been put before us, we are now actioning those recommendations. And of course, the recommendations require for substantial amount of changes and upgrades in what we have been doing. And so these things require budget. It requires financing. We are now in the budgetary season. We are now at the time where we're putting all these things together so that in 2025, once the resources become available, we can then begin the process of purchasing or hiring and all those other things that are required. Keep in mind that the government service is not like the private sector, where one can wake up today as a board and just make some decisions and overnight certain things may change. Government has a bureaucratic process that is to safeguard the public's purse. And as such, there are things that sometimes we may want to try and rush through, but requires going through certain processes that take time. So now is the best time for change. However, the change has been ongoing for more than a year.
Okay. We do have another caller. Caller, good morning, and you're live. Good morning to you, caller. Good morning to you, caller. You're live.
Good morning, GT, and good morning to Jason.
Good morning.
I wanted to take this quick opportunity to clarify a matter on your program yesterday. I know you are in other subject areas, but I think it's very important because maybe you didn't have the facts and wasn't able to clear it. The parliamentarian, Dr. Clarice Modest, made a rather false statement yesterday morning on your program, accusing the NDC as being responsible for the failure and major costs to the nation regarding the chicken farm. And I don't want to say that she lied. It's just that she did not speak the truth, because the NDC had absolutely nothing to do with that project whatsoever. $8.7 million was lost in the project. And I know over the years that that situation was as it is. I recall the then Chester Humphrey making a statement. All this money has been spent and not one feather produced. And over the years, the nation was in uproar regarding this project. What is interesting, though, is that on the said site, the said land, the infamous shrimp farm was located. Another $54.2 million in losses. So I want to say to Dr. Clarice Modest, please, do not misinform the children of the nation. A lot of them probably don't know. But please save us these misinformation. It is not healthy for society. It's not healthy for anyone. Take responsibility. The chicken farm, shrimp farm were definitely under the NNP. Accept your responsibility, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We do have a caller via WhatsApp. Caller via WhatsApp, good morning and you're welcome.
Hi, good morning, GC, and good morning to your guest. I just want to encourage or ask the gentleman to probably pay a little bit more attention into the audio coming out to us as the audience when GIS is streaming live, especially Parliament or the press conferences. It's rather low. And if you are not in a very closed environment, sometimes you can hardly even hear what is being said. You have to rewatch the program maybe when you're in your room or something. So definitely we need some volume on the audio when streaming. And I'd also just like to encourage them to do, maybe, I don't know, he said that, some things take time. So I'm not sure if this is in the pipeline, as we see a lot of things in the pipeline, but work on probably doing more groundwork along with the ministers so we can actually know some of the stuff that is happening on a government level, not other level, but on a government level. Time has changed, things has evolved, so the GIS also needs to evolve with the type of, the quality of information or the way in which you put out information. People are not consuming information the same way that they used to. You have to be a bit more creative with it because sometimes GIS put out something and I myself don't even see it, although I try to engage as much as possible. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate your contribution this morning. Any response to the caller?
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify that we are aware of the audio issue. In particular, we have met with our service providers, Phillp, our ICT department, and our technical team to have the matter addressed. And we do believe that this is going to be a problem of the past as we move forward with the new sitting in Parliament. There has been some technical glitches which we've had to work on, and it was not only on the side of GIS, but of course we had to work on all of the channels and the technical areas that we interface our broadcast with. Okay. So those are areas that have been addressed, and we do look forward to having those matters cleared up for the next season.
All right.
Relative to the concern regarding the formatting and how we put information out, just to guide that, of course, we are looking at all of those areas, and we do appreciate your comment and concern in terms of the way we should be having information for the general public. Just keeping in mind that we are working towards having these new formats done, but of course we have to onboard quite a lot of staff, a lot of technical people, and these things within the government realm do take a little bit of time. As I had mentioned earlier, it's a budgetary process. We have to budget for these things. We have to then get the budget approved, and once it's approved, we then move towards getting all the necessary things that we would like to see happen. So we're asking for the patience of yourself and the rest of the general public as we move forward to have all these matters addressed. But yes, thank you very much for your contribution.
All right. I do have one more question from someone via WhatsApp. They're asking, what is the role, or if any, the Mr. Dwight Sampson at GIS or the Ministry of Information? Someone is asking that question via WhatsApp.
I'm not understanding. Could you repeat?
Well, someone is asking what is the role, or if any, of Mr. Dwight Sampson at GIS or the Ministry of Information? What is his role? Someone is asking that question.
I am not aware of anyone with that name currently employed at the government service, so I cannot speak to that at all.
Okay, great. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're welcome.
Yes, good morning.
Go right ahead, please, caller.
Yes. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Right, I've been listening to you all along, and your program this morning has been very informative.
Caller, you have a device in the background that seems to be causing a bit of a distraction. You may have to turn. Is it the television or the radio? Turn it off completely, please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm there now. Yes, so I'm saying that Jason has been very informative this morning. I've been listening all along. Good information, timely information. But I want to ask a question that it is still the subject of media, but I'm not sure if he could really answer the question, but I would like to ask. Do you know who is the Chief Executive Officer of Channel 10? By any chance?
More or less, that's a private entity anyway.
That's a private entity.
That's a private entity.
Yes.
So
I'm not aware.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
go on.
the reason why I'm asking is because that channel is now off air. So I'm just wondering if by any chance you know the reasons or what might be the causes of Channel 10 being off the air at the moment.
Caller, as we said, it's a private entity, so we may have limited knowledge as a reference to that. But of course, Mr. Phillp, we get into that stage of the morning when we may have to take a wrap for today's program. Anything in closing before we take a wrap for today?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone that today is day 2 of the Sagassum conference, which is currently ongoing at the Grand Beach. The Radisson, sorry, I keep calling it the Grand Beach, of course.
Well, it was formerly.
Yes, at the Radisson. We have quite a lot of players here. Yesterday, our Prime Minister, along with the Ambassador for the European Union, as well as several other members of the OECS and so, would have presented quite a substantial amount of details regarding the future for our region when it comes to Sagassum and seeking opportunities out. I want to encourage everyone to log on. You can go through the GIS platform or you can just go on to Facebook. Again, you can just type Sagassum Conference Grenada and you will be able to find information that is being posted there. There is also a website, which again, if you go into Google and just type Sagassum Conference Grenada, you will be able to access the live streaming of the discussions that are being had relative to the development and opportunities for developing different things relative to Sagassum. The entire goal here is to ensure that we're able to use a resource which seems to be plaguing the entire region, and how can we start using it to benefit the region. And that is what the discussion is. There are players, investors, governments from all over the region who are here in Grenada discussing this. And I believe it's of national importance that everyone chime in and get to understand what is happening there today. Today being the last day.
Mr. Phillp, I want to thank you once again for coming on the program this morning. It's a bit of a last minute, you popping in, but of course the discussion was fruitful. I want to thank you once again and hope to see you on a regular basis.
Oh, thank you very much, and I do look forward to that.
Have a good day, sir. Hey, folks, that's how we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point. Join us again tomorrow for another edition. That's where we say goodbye.